Heyo, and welcome to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. You have myself, Gabe, Sammy K, and Big E this evening. J Matt is on a trip. Good to see everybody. Fellas, it's Super Bowl week. The Patriots are playing on Sunday versus Seattle. I can't believe it. We were just talking pre-show about that we never expected this to be happening, and the fact that it is means we have a lot to get into tonight in terms of the game. Now, J Matt isn't here, so in terms of setting the table, it's sort of a open season here. I'll put a few things out to get us rolling. And I'd love to start off sort of going with the week in review. Who was, if anybody, able to tune into that rally yesterday, sort of see the send-off team? Our buddy Sarge, who was on with us last week, literally leading the charge all day.
I mean, I didn't
Sarge in charge.
I didn't potentially specifically go myself. I had, a couple of friends that did go. I talked about it a little bit. Obviously, we all saw some of the videos. I mean, this team is pumped. I mean, it's tough to really talk about what Seattle's doing because we're not Seattle fans, so we can't really see what's going behind their closed doors, so to speak. But from what I'm seeing, it doesn't really look like there's a team that's more cohesive out there than the Patriots. Are they better on paper? No. Are they more talented on paper? No. Do they have more heart and more will? It looks like it. We'll find out come Sunday. Really, like I said, the two biggest things, and we talked about it last episode, is what Gabe alluded to, is containing JSN and Kenneth Gainwell. Those are the really two big things that we, kind of should talk about. And then also really protecting Drake May at the same time. Really that left side, what's going to happen, the pass rush that we're coming up against hasn't gotten any easier. If anything, it's gotten harder. So really interesting to hear what you guys have to think about containing both those guys. And if you guys actually went to the send off, or if you had any friends.
Did not go to the send off. Had a little bit of a busy day yesterday and couldn't make it down to
Instagram,
Rhode Island.
Insta story.
So, yeah, couldn't make it down there, but I think, it's always great to be able to send off the team in a great way. And shout out to anyone who did go yesterday. Frigid temps. So, you guys are all true fans who went out to go in there. But I'm getting excited about this week, and I'm starting to really feel the hype about the Super Bowl. And I actually really love being an underdog going to the Super Bowl. I think it feels reminiscent of that. I want to say the first Super Bowl victory that we were a part of, or that we witnessed back in 2001, 2002 with that first Brady team, where literally everyone kind of was counting us out. I think if you look at all the national media pundits, they are firmly all on Seattle's side. So that's fine. I'll take it. Give us all the bulletin board and all the motivation that we need. I think also Coach Williams being ruled cancer free and being with the team is a huge boost that I think isn't being talked about enough. And I think that's something that is going to help propel these guys, especially the defense, who I think have been balling out throughout the postseason, to continue up with that in the Super Bowl.
Undoubtedly. Gabe, jump in, my friend. Hopefully. Gabe looks frozen on my end.
Well,
So
we'll talk about, like Eric, you were saying, like the national attention that Seattle is getting, and it's just like, okay, we understand that it's Seattle's a better team, and that's perfectly fine on paper. Like you were saying, I don't know. Knock on wood, to me, it just feels like a perfect storm. I saw like one thing today where every single time, what's that fucking gopher's name that sees a shadow? Patuxent Phil?
Puxatawny Phil.
Phil.
Fuck that groundhog today.
Every single time he sees his shadow. No, oh yeah. Every time he sees his shadow and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, they win. Every time he doesn't and the Patriots are in, they lost. He is 5-1.
All right.
Yeah.
So you know what? Oh yeah, to him seeing that, because that bodes well for us. And another motivational factor that I want to talk about that really has to have these guys amped up, because I know I would be if I was fucking playing, is I guess Seattle left a bunch of cigars in the locker room.
Ooh.
And for the reason of celebrating. So it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to fucking smoke your cigar. So, and that got out there too. I don't know if you guys saw that. So that's just, I think there's a lot of motivation. The line's 3.5. It's at a neutral zone. You're taking Seattle out of its element, which is Seattle, and you're just having the players go at it. Ken Vrabel outcoach Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
Mike McDonald.
Mike
McDonald. Sorry.
All good.
There's so many.
I think everything you said there, Kraz, the fact that the groundhog there might be on our side is great. But I wanna dive into a few things here. The biggest news that came out after the AFC Championship game was all across social media that Drake May had a shoulder injury, and Dr. Chow, who was a team physician back in the day and had some questionable things come up in his history, sort of looked at the video where Drake May went for a run and sort of, got up, flexing his shoulder a little bit. Now, 2 throws later, he threw the flea flicker to Matt Hollins and drove that in there. And obviously, we know the weather was a complete debacle last week in Denver. So it's hard to know how he's going to look. He was listed on the injury report. So, they're sort of poo-pooing it in terms of any sort of concern and whatnot. Listen, every player at this point in time is probably dealing with something. If Drake May is at 90 to 95%, I think the Patriots still have a very legitimate chance to win this game. Now, the biggest thing is can this offense get at a sort of the funk that they've been in throughout the playoffs? Drake has played well, but we know the turnovers were something that they dealt with for a little while. And then in the last game, the weather, and I haven't looked at the radar quite yet or what our weather report's looking like for Santa Clara next week, but I don't think that some of the things that they've been dealing with over the past couple weeks in their games are going to be something. So I hope to see the return of the Patriots offense. I do think that some of these secondary players that we really haven't talked about, guys like Trevion Henderson, even Austin Hoopa, and getting them into the mix might be something. I have Hoopa for a touchdown as well. I think that was plus 800 or plus 1800. I forget, but
I love it.
pretty good odds on that. And I just think that if the Patriots are going to win this game, it's actually going to be the offense sort of returning to the form that we saw. And we've talked about the defense. I think the defense is going to hold their own, but I think the Patriots have to get to their back to their offensive ways and sort of scoring the amount of points that they were towards the end of the season if they're going to have a chance here. Seattle does put up points. They do have a formidable offense, and if Sam Darnold plays like the Sam Darnold that's been on display all season, then I could see this game getting into somewhat of a track meet, a la Patriots Carolina Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say that's the biggest thing, right? Is like the offense has been stagnant. We can use the excuse, oh, the weather's been really bad, which it has. It has been bad. They have been in, really, as far as the Houston game goes, that weather sucked. And then you get to the Broncos. That's Drake's first game that's out of New England, so he's in enemy territory. So hostile environment. Got that out of the way. I think that I don't, and again, I'm not trying to use the weather as an excuse, but I really think it did kind of mess things up in a way for these guys to get going, because once you start playing the game and the game's going and your game plan's not what it's supposed to be, everything all gets messed up. So I think if they can start, in a nice clean drive, go down the field, put up 7 right off the get, they got a real shot to keep momentum going and to keep the game on their side. Are they going to walk away with it? Absolutely not. But I think in order for this team to really get going, as you alluded to, they need to start on offense right away, and they need to get points, I think, on the first drive, whether it be 3 or 7. They need to go down, take a decent amount of time off the clock with short plays and get the offense going. That's by doing
Come out
that.
and throw the ball. Come out and throw the ball, please.
By doing
Just
that
like
in
I
the
was
fourth
saying last week,
quarter.
go and throw it over the top right away, especially with all this talk about Drake May's shoulder. Like, this is when you come out and you come out slinging. And like, while like I don't think anyone is looking at the weather as an excuse, it's certainly a factor over how the last 3 games have been played. Go back to the first game against the Chargers. It was like 20 some odd degrees here. And listen, I don't care if you're going to play in 20-degree weather, 30-degree weather, 10-degree weather. The ball is not going to travel as far. It's just science, right? So the ball doesn't, and we know this from the great Deflategate, that the law of science with the balls in the air naturally deflates when the weather gets cold. Anyone get out recently in the Boston area and have to put air in your tires because it's been like frigid? It's happening in these games. So I do believe that the offense is going to return to form. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks, right? It, and again, it's not an excuse. It's a factor, though. And I think, not only is it going to be a factor as far as like the weather being much better, but these guys also have had a week of rest in between these games where they haven't had a week off since the bye. So there's also that as a factor here too. something that I think is also going completely talked about is the middle of the Seattle offensive line, the center, the left guard, and the right guard are extremely soft. PFF has rated I believe it was the left guard and the right guard as like the 60th of 66th throughout the season, and I think the right guard or left guard is on the other side is like 57 out of 66. So those are not highly rated players, and the center itself I think was like 30 out of 66. So if you think about where the strength of our defense is, it is the defensive line in the center. So if the center of that offensive line is their weakness, and they're going to go up against our defensive line where arguably that is our strength from a defensive side. I'm gonna take big boy Milt Williams and Christian Barmore going up the center almost every single time. And good luck to Kenneth Walker trying to run up against those guys.
Yeah.
So I do feel like we're gonna stop the run. I think it's just all about how do you contain JSN, and I really feel like for the Seahawks, the guy who I think is their X factor is Barner. No, it's Barner. It's Barner because we get torched by tight ends, and Barner is a secret weapon. He had a really good year, and I think I don't know if he's a rookie or second year player, but he's a young player and really stepped up this year. So that's the guy that if you are worried about from the Patriots standpoint, that's the guy outside of JSN I'm worried about.
And you make a good point, Eric. And I think that we talked offensive here and how both teams are able to put up points undoubtedly. But I think let's turn the conversation to defense. And you bring up Barner. And I think some of the injuries hey, he's back. We talked a little bit about Drake May, obviously. But on the defensive side, I think the return of having Harold Landry from a pass rush standpoint, and if Robert Spillane is able to be out there, he is somebody that can get in coverage. If you recall,
Tackle machine.
Yes. And in the game versus Houston, when they were up to 2 scores, he had the pass breakup at the end of that game to keep Houston from being able to get down to the 5-yard line and try and score there. So injuries and having everybody available is going to be key. I do think that obviously it's a Super Bowl. Everyone's going to do everything they can to get out there. Gabe, we know you had a few connectivity issues there, but we pretty much have just talked a little bit about the offense and sort of some of the players that we're looking to hopefully emerge on the Patriots side, and Henderson and Hooper, the Drake May shoulder injury, and we were just talking about the Seattle offense a little bit, and have just shifted to defense. So feel free to sprinkle in any of your takes. It looks like you're crystal clear now, my friend.
I love it. Just in time here. Yeah, I think one thing I wanted to touch on if we're talking defense now is that the Seahawks, I think, turned over the ball during the regular season at a pretty incredible clip. I believe it was 1.65 turnovers per game in the regular season, and they haven't turned the ball over at all in the playoffs. So it's a huge point of emphasis, this, I'm sure, from Vrabel to the defense, is you got to force. You got to punch that ball out. You got to force Sam Darnold out of the pocket. You got to pressure him. Like you said, it's harder if Harold Landry and Robert Spillane can't go, but you really need to get him out of the pocket. You need to get him, seeing ghosts again and change the coverage up and make him think they're doing one thing and do something else as the ball snapped. And that's going to go, if the Patriots can pick off Sam Darnold, force a fumble, this game is wide open. I mean, he's been playing great this playoffs and this whole season. Credit to Sam Darnold and the Seattle offense. I think it might be the best team the Patriots have seen all season. So, if they can do those few things and get to Darnold early in the game and kind of make him think twice, then we got a game on our hands, boys.
Yeah.
I think regardless of what happens in this game, I do want to give Sam Darnold his flowers. He's gone to 2 franchises in 2 back-to-back years and has put up great numbers. And yes, he's got great players that he's played around him, and Justin Jefferson and JSN. I will say JSN this year is not the same JSN as the year before. He's certainly much better, and some of that could be due to Sam Darnold. But it's just a lesson for some of these teams that you can't give up on these quarterbacks so early. It also is nice to be where we are with the Patriots with a really young quarterback that we are investing in and someone that we're moving forwards with. So I just wanted to, again, give Sam Darnold a little bit of credit for what he's been able to do as of late.
Kraz, jump in.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to touch on, again, our front seven and what they're going to do with Sam Darnold. And Gabe, you kind of talked about it, that, that they haven't, they turned over, a crazy amount, during the regular season, yet they haven't at all turn the ball over, and that kind of seems to be what the Patriots are about. They're not like this team that's gonna go and throw the ball out there. They really are a team that just really plays situational football really well, and it's really hard. It's really crazy to see in a team or a program that's only 1 year old. So I think that's what's shocking to a lot of us is that they're actually able to do this 1 year into the program. And I think we're gonna do that. But I think I don't know if it was Karen or someone else that said it. It was, the fact that Mike Vrabel was able to bring in a team of his own guys and people that, have been there and done that. And, we got to remember that we have, an offensive coordinator that's been to multiple Super Bowls, that actually, if he wins, will have more Super Bowl rings than anyone, which is kind of crazy to fucking think about. That Josh McDaniels, of all people, if he wins the Super Bowl, if the Patriots win, he will have more Super Bowl rings than anyone.
Greatest offensive coordinator of all time. Like, I
So-
don't even think it's disputable if he wins.
There's a lot of things that people aren't talking about that, kind of sway in our favor. And I think them getting to a neutral zone, yeah, okay, it's on the West Coast, so there might be some more Seahawk fans there, but it's not going to be Seahawk land. It's not going to be, that 12th man on the field, or, whatever, the 12th fan, whatever they want to call it. It is a neutral site where it should be 50-50. And with that being said, I mean, if those guys can get going and the defense does what it's been doing all season long, we're in a good spot. And I think we have a much better chance to win than Vegas says.
And let's be honest, it's not even 50-50 because there's so many people that go to the Super Bowl who honestly don't care about either team, right? They're just people that go because it is the Super Bowl. And yes, they do sell out a specific portion of tickets for each team. But just like you said, Sam, it's not going to be like it's a full Seahawks stadium where it's going to be a split crowd. And I think that definitely is something that benefits us. We at least played on the road this postseason. Can't say that about Seattle. So this is the first time they're leaving the confines of their home, and let's see how they do.
That was the
on
other
a
point I
place.
wanted to make, is that Seattle hasn't left. They've only played in Seattle, and that is, as we know, going
And
back to
let's-
Richard Sherman, it's a hostile place.
Yeah, and credit to them because they were good enough throughout the regular season that they earned that home field advantage. But now that they've earned that home field advantage, it's time for them to go back on the road again. So let's see how they do.
Gonna
Yeah,
have to
I don't
be
think
Road
they were.
Warriors.
I don't think they
Go
were
ahead, Gabe.
nearly as effective on the road this season during the regular season as they were at home. But one guy that is off the people's radars a little bit, I think, is Cooper Kupp. We haven't mentioned that name yet. He's a guy that can really
been there,
move the
done that
chains
too.
for them. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a shell of what he used to be with the Rams, but he's still a productive player. Whoever ends up covering him, you got to look out for him on third downs, and he's a big chain mover. So
Great
if
point.
they can cover Cooper Kupp, obviously they're going to be focusing more on JSN, but Seattle has a good offense. Like
Here's a question.
just talking about it now is like,
Here's a
it just
question.
makes me realize it.
Would you double JSN and throw Gonzalez on their second best receiver, and then on third down throw him on Cooper?
It all depends because, and I think that it's what we talked about. The Patriots are going to be mixing up coverages left and right in this game. I don't think that they're going to really be going. I don't like the man matchup as much in this game as I may in other games, because even Cooper Kupp, I mean, yeah, the guy isn't what he was when he won the Triple Crown when he was with the Rams, but that guy's still a bona fide, legitimate, receiver in this league. And JSN is a top 5 receiver in the league. So I don't know how much man you want to go. I think that it's what we said earlier. What will confuse Sam Darnold the most in terms of the coverage? And is it going to look like you're playing man and you drop into zone, or is it going to look like you're playing, zone and end up going man? Having a guy, the safeties as well, for the Patriots, it's unbelievable that we went into training camp with Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers thinking that those guys were going to be there, and now you got Jalen Hawkins and I'm blanking on the other guy.
Craig
that's been back.
Woodson?
Yeah, Woodson. Great call,
Rookie.
Dave. Those guys have been great. So it's going to be a chess match once again. I think it's going to. I would love for it to sort of get off and running, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's like many of these other Patriots Super Bowls that we've seen, where the first quarter is sort of feeling each other out. And we haven't touched on this yet at all in the special teams when it comes to this game, because the kicking game is going to be important. And the decisions that will need to be made in terms of, fourth downs and short, and are you going for it? Where are you on the field? If you're at the 30-yard line, are you going to kick a field goal? Are you going to go? All those things are going to come into play. And I'll tell you, with Mike Vrabel, I think that there's a bit of an advantage here with that decision making and when in the game to sort of press the right buttons. But for me, it's all about points. Get points up on the board as early as you can, and then you start to hopefully make some of those decisions as you enter that territory. The other thing too is the punting game. If you're in your own territory and you got to flip the field, you need Behringer,
He needs to
hasn't had
step up.
he's got to be booting that ball and getting it
Could be
to
practicing
the
all
other
week,
side of the
boy.
field. So that's going to be important. And if they trot out Aurora Borealis, you got to hope that he's making his kicks, because missed opportunities in these sorts of games are what makes and breaks things.
I do think that those guys will perform better than what we've seen over the last 3 games, and I think, like, just what we've talked about, the weather has been a factor, right? And, like, that's just you can't dispute it. It is what it is. Now these guys are gonna be kicking in better conditions, so I would like to at least think that it's going to be improved from what we saw over the last 3 games. So how much of an improvement? That's gonna be determined by them, but there will be an improvement.
Certainly.
Yeah, I just hope Behringer, they got Rashid Shaheed on the returns now in Seattle.
Do not kick it to him.
Seattle. No, kick it out of bounds as far as you can. Like, I really would not let that guy or give him a chance to cook the Patriots on special teams.
Undoubtedly. And you got to hope that when we're returning, that a guy like Marcus Jones is able to improve your field position by 10, 15, 20 yards at a time.
Which he certainly can.
And maybe he's able to get one back to the house. So a few sort of like other things peripheral to or that are related to the Super Bowl, but obviously not a part of the game. The Seahawks offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, has accepted the Raiders head coaching position. So that's an interesting little nugget. How, if any way, shape, or form, does that sort of affect players internally, sort of being like, obviously they want him to go out on a high note, but the fact that all that's sort of done before the game is a little bit odd. Tonight's media night, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of questions come out and what their answers are to that. But the bigger thing that came out in a parallel to the Celtics, I know we're crossing sports here, but the news came out today or over the weekend that Seattle's selling the team and the ownership group is looking to move on, which is absolutely nuts for that to come out prior to the Super Bowl. With the Celtics, it happened after they won the championship. But for that to be announced right before
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense if you think about it, because the owner of the Seahawks was Paul Allen, famously of the Microsoft, one of those big executives at Microsoft, Bill Gates, Stephen Ballmer. He bought them back in, like, I think the early 90s. And I think one of the deals that they made with him is that, like, if they invested public money in the stadium, they had to hold on to the team. They couldn't sell it for 30 years. So he died, I don't know, I think like a decade ago. So his sister's basically been running the trust. Obviously, if you're going to be selling, no better time to sell the team than coming off of being in the Super Bowl.
True.
So I do think, like, it's very advantageous, and, like, it does make sense for the team to go up to sale, especially considering the fact that his sister doesn't have the capital to run the team like he would, because she didn't inherit all of his money. A lot of his money went to charity.
You don't just move this type of money overnight. I think this is something that they've probably been thinking about for years now.
So I told you they had the 30-year clause. So the 30-year clause just came on up, I believe, this year. And also they're coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. Like, it's too easy to not sell and get the most value you can.
Makes sense. And maybe they do it before the Super Bowl so that the interest is there and they can line up potential buyers before there's some sort of result. But I found it interesting for that news to come out. Makes a little bit more sense with what you just said there, Eric.
I feel enlightened.
Yeah, I do. That was Professor E.
The Seattle Seahawks are valued at $6.6 to $6.7 billion.
They'll go for over 7.
Yeah,
most likely, and there will be
7.1 billion. Calling it now.
Put it in the book.
7.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure many folks get that reference. All right, that's
Hopefully.
everything in terms of the Super Bowl. We could beat the horse as much as we want in terms of the game and what's going to happen, but we'll be back next week to break it all down, hopefully elated and a little groggy after a Super Bowl victory for the Patriots. But we also have to shift the conversation to the other huge item to come out of the football world in the past week, and that is the previous head coach of the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, not being a first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the most
Penalty
unbelievable.
box coming back out right now. Bill Polian.
Bill
You're going in
Polian,
there.
a lifetime sentence to the penalty box, if you want my opinion.
That guy's a fucking creepy guy too. Oh my God. Look at
I don't think it's just him though. I think it's the entire Hall of Fame that deserves to go into the penalty box. And you want to I do think there are bigger issues than Bill Belichick not being elected first ballot. This is an issue that like only one head coach or like it can only be selected each year. Like the fact that Mike Shanahan is not in there to me is also ridiculous. And like say what you want, like Mike Shanahan, he's not the greatest coach of all time, but is he a Hall of Famer? Absolutely, just like Bill Belichick is. And those are guys that probably deserve to be in, not probably, do deserve to be in on their first ballot. So I think it's a Hall of Fame issue, and I hope that there are serious reforms that come out from this. And I hope that they make everyone's ballot transparent after this too, because this is absolutely and utterly ridiculous. Seeing all the current and former players, especially guys who played against Bill Belichick, coming out and being like, this is ridiculous. JJ Watt, all these other guys. I think Peyton Manning came out and said it was ridiculous. Like that is nuts.
I think an old Broncos player did too. It's clearly that you can tell that there was something against Belichick for some weird reason as to why he didn't get in, and what that is, we don't know.
Oh, we know what it is. It's Spygate. Like it's that stuff. So like I don't think we can say we don't know what it is. We know what it is. Do we agree with it? No.
Well, I mean, there could be other things too. We don't know the full story, so Spygate could be part of it. But anyways, I mean, the thing is I mean, it's
I think what you're saying, Sam, is also, and some of the things that I've heard is, how Belichick just didn't really treat the media that well, and it's all media members who are voting for him, and the way that he just sort of stiffed things over the course of his career, and the way that he acted, that it's almost like retribution for these guys to be able to say like, okay, you were a fucking asshole to me all these years. Well, I'm going to be a fucking asshole to you in one of the biggest moments that you're supposed to have. And if you want to come back to it, I think that I can understand the human nature of that. And while I don't agree that, that should have been factored into the pure facts of what his accolades are to get into the Hall of Fame, human nature takes over in these moments, and that's most likely what I think happened there. Gabe, what's your take on this whole shit show?
So my take is more, now you guys got me thinking a little bit about Tom Brady. We mentioned Spygate, but a lot of people associate Deflategate with Tom Brady, and it's now that we know that the NFL Hall of Fame holds grudges and they take away votes for certain things that may or may not be true, I worry that Brady won't be a unanimous, first round Hall of Famer. And that would just be a travesty because he is the GOAT of the NFL and of the NFL quarterbacks. And, if that happens, it already has lost so much credibility. Like, what would happen if they need to figure their shit out before Brady is up for
I just actually want to say something. The NFL actually did say they put out something about it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
they pretty much covered for the voters.
Well, no, they said that if it is determined that any members violated the selection process bylaws, they understand action will be taken, and that they were gonna they were gonna, like, I believe, see what the deal was as far as the voters were and getting rid of voters.
I just don't think it should just be media though. That's the issue. Like why are there no like current Hall of Fame players or coaches or like other people that have a say? And I think that's like one of the things that like I don't want to cross sports here, but when we talk about the NBA and we talk about like all-star selections, it's not just like the fan vote and the media vote. The current players and coaches also get a vote too. And I think that's one of the things that is a check and balance that the Hall of Fame here needs, because when you just take in one part of the equation, you're going to get an unfair and unbalanced result. And I'd rather take the opinion of the people who are actually playing and were in the Hall of Fame, because those are the people whose opinion matter more to me than the fucking media.
Yeah. And that goes back to what Gabe just said. I mean, if you're not voting in Bill Belichick to the Hall of Fame with the resume that he has, then what sort of credibility does the Hall of Fame have when you're prohibiting what should have been a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer from getting in? And that's the funny part is, and the best part of this entire situation, to be quite honest, is that somehow, some way, the Patriots get back into this sort of spotlight with things that are external to the actual game that's going on, sort of taking over the narrative and taking over the storm. And what they did was they made Bill Belichick, who was a figure that, you know, let's not forget, Bill hasn't had the smoothest of rides here over the past couple of years, and they turned him back into some sort of beloved NFL character, and they probably had the opposite sort of effect from the response that they sort of thought that they were going to. So yeah, they might have gotten their FU to Belichick, but on the flip side, they've completely eradicated any sort of credibility when it comes to the Hall of Fame, and it's just a joke. It's a complete joke. And if you want to say Spygate is a reason or whatever, you know, as Jimmy Johnson and several other coaches have come out, they were all fucking doing it, and it was just the Patriots in terms of the success that they have. And it's pretty insane because it honestly does make sense that he didn't get in at this point, because look at what the punishments that were levied for things that the Patriots that were doing when all these other teams were doing it. Like there's been this sort of thing against the Patriots since that came out. and Belichick plays a role in it and owns responsibility for it, but at the same time, like, this is not new for the fucking Patriots. Like we've seen this song and dance for 20 years at this point. So it's a travesty he didn't get in and bullshit. But on the flip side, I'm not surprised, to be completely honest.
Gabe, you look like you got something on your mind.
I do. Well, Plotty brought up that, you know, Belichick looks a little better in the good graces of the media, and someone is trying to drag him down. And you know who that is? It's
Pumpkin.
Jordan Hudson. I just saw on Early Edition, she's planning a big bash on the same day of the Hall of Fame ceremony, and they're trying to invite like all the like Hall of Fame greats to come to Belichick's bash instead of going to the ceremony. And
I love that.
Yeah, but the thing is like Kraft could get inducted, and then like you're pulling away like Brady and all these great players to like see Kraft be inducted. And it's just like, why does she always have to stick her little like Twitter thumbs into the universe and fuck with Bill Belichick?
Let's hope that Kraft does get in, because he also deserves to get in. But I think this also goes to a greater narrative that the Patriots are being held to a different standard than the rest of the league. It's not just, you know, Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft. Think about all the players that were part of the two dynasties. Rodney Harrison, who was a story player before he even came here, like all pro, you know, and he only played here for a short period of time, but won Super Bowls. He hasn't been able to sniff the Hall of Fame. And the fact that he's not a Hall of Famer, to me, is absolutely asinine, right? One of those guys. You have guys like Richard Seymour, who did get in. It took forever for Richard Seymour to get in. Like, that's a dude who was a game wrecker. Like, I just don't understand how like they look at all these players that played on, you know, these teams over the last 2 decades, and there's a black mark against them. So for me, it really is nothing out of the ordinary. It's kind of par for the course, but it's just a shame that like there is this bias against the Patriots, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
Nope, I don't think it's going to change. And as the saying goes, they hate us because they ain't us. And it really does feel, going into this Super Bowl, that it's sort of New England against the world again. It's the perfect position to be in. As a fan of this team, I can't wait for Sunday. I'm so excited. And I really do hope that the Patriots are able to pull it off, because the receipts that have been kept by all different Patriots fans in terms of the shit talk that's been going on is going to be something for people to eat their crow if they're able to pull it off. And we all know what a duck boat parade brings to this region, and I would do anything to get Gabe to get back to duck boat parade mode one more time.
We'll love nothing more.
Only some of us know what that means. Yeah,
we'll tell that story maybe one day, maybe never. Maybe
what a long walk that was.
What a long, strange trip that was, my friends. And let's continue this trip here on the podcast tonight. Let's shift gears a little bit to the winter sports teams. Big E, big week in basketball. You had boots on the ground at the Garden this week. We got the trade deadline coming up on Thursday, so set the table with everything and the Celtics.
Yeah, successful week for the Celtics, 3-1 stretch. You know, it took care of the business against most of the teams that they played against. Had Rob Williams and Drew Holiday make their return to the Garden last Monday. So it was nice to have them back. It was really interesting to hear some Rob Williams comments about how he was happy for the guys when they won, but also a little bit like, you know, F them type attitude. but then back to being happy. It's interesting. He's a guy who's on an expiring deal and could have some value across the league on potential trades. Would it be interesting if Rob Williams returned to the Celtics? I think it would be very interesting. Do I expect it to happen? No. All right, moving on. Not going to get into many of the other games. I did have boots on the ground, though, against the Milwaukee game for kickoff of Black History Month and was there for the Pioneer Cup. So that was really cool. I didn't realize what the game was going to be when I bought the tickets yesterday, but it was really cool. They honored the three Black players that broke the color barrier back in 1950. Every player had a patch on the back of their jersey with 1950. And then they also did something really cool at the end of the first quarter where they honored Bill Russell and Red Auerbach. So really cool to have Karen Russell, Bill's daughter there, as well as Red Auerbach's granddaughter there as well, and great-granddaughter there on the court. So huge standing ovation for all of the families of the three Black players that broke the color barrier. And then, of course, Bill Russell and Red Auerbach's family as well. So really cool to see that. As far as this week, the big story is the trade deadline. So really need to focus in on what the Celtics are going to do. They are over the tax. And I think the big thing going into this year was, hey, they're going to try and get under the tax so they can reset. And I'm not so sure that that's going to happen anymore. I think going into this a trade deadline halfway through the season, everyone was convinced Anthony Simmons, the microwave was going to get dealt. After witnessing him yesterday and him being a one-man wrecking crew in that first quarter to make sure that the Celtics didn't fall behind by a crazy amount, I'm not really sure that we can move on from this guy. I really do think that he is an integral part of this team. What I think is more likely is that they do something around the margins. I love this player, but I could see maybe a Sam Hauser getting traded. I could see some of these other guys on the margins like a Chris Boucher getting traded. I think he's definitely going to get traded somewhere. And maybe we don't get a lot back in return that can also help with that. I can also see Brad Stevens working the Celtics in to be a third or fourth team in a trade. So that Giannis trade that is going to come down this week because it's basically a foregone conclusion that they're going to trade him by the trade deadline. From what I understand, it's going to be very difficult for the Bucks to make a one-to-one trade with another team just based on the salaries that need to move. So there is going to be an opportunity for Brad to step in here, whether it's that trade, another trade, and be someone that can help facilitate and maybe get a nice piece along the way and maybe get under the tax. I really am not sure what to expect on the trade deadline. I think we're looking for a big man. But as far as a Zubac or someone who's a big name or Vucevic, I don't really see that. I think it's, again, going to be someone much smaller. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or what you guys are expecting to see around the trade deadline.
I mean, for me, the biggest thing is Anthony Simmons or Simons, whatever his fucking name is. And the fact that I've seen that the Celtics have been approached with big man deals for him to be traded away and that they haven't taken those deals, the two of them being Miles Turner, who's now with the Bucks, and also Vucevic, who's with Chicago, and that there's been proposals from both of those teams for the Celtics to trade Simons and a potential pick, and that they've declined those offers. And Big E, you were there the other day. We've referred to him as the microwave, but he's been I think I said this several episodes ago. He's firmly in the running for sixth man of the year, in my opinion, again, which would be unbelievable for the Celtics to have three different sixth men of the year over the course of a 4 or 5 year period. But I do think that they might be able to get by with the likes of Keita and Garza has come on tremendously over the past month or two as well. And the ever looming question of Tatum coming back. And we've talked about what his presence could be from a rebounding and sort of big man standpoint. It's crazy because Missoula's playing these lineups as well, where Hugo Gonzalez is at the fucking 5 and he's just masterminding this season. So I don't know if the Celtics make any sort of move here. I think, Eric, you mentioned this several episodes ago as well, is maybe looking at the buyout market after the trade deadline and who might be available to come in. I do think having a third big man, and it doesn't have to be some sort of talented, unbelievable guy with a high salary, but to be able to rotate with Garza and Keita would be important. I think if you're getting into Amari Williams territory in the playoffs, you're looking like you might be screwed. So that's my take on it. Gabe and Sam, feel free to jump in with any Celtics thoughts you guys have.
Sammy, go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, this team's kind of just pedaling along. Like you said, Josh, there were some offers already made for some big men. I was kind of surprised that they did turn down that offer for Hauser in a first round for Vucevic. That was really surprising to me. So that just tells me that this team probably is going to stand pat, which again, I'm perfectly fine with where they are in the standings. I figured they would. I didn't think that they would be, number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference or 3 seed. They're kind of fighting with the Knicks back and forth. I figured 4 or 5 somewhere, maybe 3, right around there, at max. But this team, if Jason Tatum comes back, I mean, it just propels them to another level because they got a guy that's going to be putting down 28 to 30 points a game on average. He's going to give you 7 to 8 rebounds a game and 3 to 5 assists a game. So he's just, it's going to take him obviously a little bit of time because he's been out with an Achilles injury. But this is a guy that's been consistently, and I've been looking at his stats, his not only has his points per game gone up, but also have his assists and his rebounds per game. So again, if you have a guy like him come back, you have a top 5 player in the league coming on your team. You don't need to add. There's no need to if Tatum comes back. So keep it as it is. It would be interesting to see what that young kid from, what is it? Is he from Kentucky, Amari Williams?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
it would be interesting to see what the deal is with that kid. I would like to see how they play him. If they just tell him, don't worry about offense, just get rebound, and let everyone else kind of do their job. Really, that's
He's a
what
great passer too. Like he's
what
not just a rebounder. He can
yeah.
do it all.
But I mean, really, all you really want from your big man is obviously someone to grab those boards, and if he's gonna pass, then obviously that's a huge plus. But really, that's what we're looking for. So I mean, am I worried if we end up with Amari Williams? That would kind of suck, but also at the same time, it's just another big body down there to grab the boards. And if you just teach him the Shane Gillis would say, box out hard like hell. If anyone knows that reference. You'll be fine, you know what I mean? He'll pull the boards. You don't need him for points, and if you do, they're going to be easy, because he's left alone because they're not worried about him, and then that just, if anything, that just puts confidence into the kid's head and would make the defense actually think of him. So I think that would be a good idea. Bringing Rob Williams back is, I don't know, just injuries galore.
I don't think he's coming back. I just think he's going to get traded. So I
Yeah,
don't think he's going to get traded here. I think he's just going to be on the market.
Yeah, but
That's
just,
that's all I'm saying.
injuries galore. You look at, unfortunately, Drew's been quite injured. Same thing with, Porzingis, Oswald.
I don't see them going after an expiring contract to just like get someone to rent for like the rest of the postseason. I see if they're going to go for someone. I see them going like
Yeah,
more
man, it's in the
the Derek
buyout.
White route. No, or the Derek White route where they get someone who's an undervalued asset who's under contract that they can then look to extend later down the road. That has been Brad Stevens' MO so far from what I've gathered. He goes for like not the hot flashy name, and he finds someone that fits with the current roster. So I'm excited to see what they do. And Gabe, I want to throw it out to you just before we move on to see if you have any thoughts here too.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know what Brad's going to do for the trade deadline this year. I think the JT news of him considering not coming back this season has really kind of mucked things up a little bit. I could really see Brad trimming off a little bit of the roster, like a Xavier Tillman or like you said, Boucher, players of that nature. And then, looking at the buyout market, seeing if they can pick up a big man that's serviceable enough to kind of come in here and give some decent minutes when Kate is off the bench. But or when he's on the bench, I should say. But I could see Brad making, he always likes to wheel and deal. And, he's a really smart, I think he was the executive of the year or something of that nature. Like he's a smart basketball mind. I think I have trust in him that he'll do what is best for the team and the organization. And, we go from there. I just think the whole JT situation right now is kind of mucking things up at the moment. Right, Pumpkin?
Definitely.
Well,
Pumpkin's got to take.
it's interesting that Chris Haynes had that report about JT being like he's not sure he's going to come back, and then Bobby Manning on the 30th had a report that Jason Tatum's on track to make an appearance around March. And so Chris Haynes has been wrong before in the past. So I'm not really going to take everything he says as gospel, and I'm going to let JT do the talking here
I was gonna
with
say, let
what he
let
has to
let,
do.
let the actual guy who's got
Well,
the injury.
and I think JT is absolutely on track to come back in March, but the other side of things is the mental aspect that comes with tearing your Achilles tendon and tearing your ACL. Like it's a really big mental game when you get close to returning and you're like, can I trust my Achilles to play at full speed against some of the best players in the world? And I think that's where Jason Tatum's at right now. He feels like he could go physically, but mentally he's still on the edge. And if there's any apprehension in his mind saying that he's not ready to go, then I mean, I can't blame the guy. I think it's okay if he doesn't come back this season. I don't think we expected him to. And seeing all the videos and everything of him practicing gets us excited, but you got to deal with reality. And the reality is the guy had a really serious injury, and it's not easy to come back to full speed that quick.
And I was kind of looked at as crazy for saying this, but I mean, in the sense of getting him prepped for the NBA, I don't see why throwing him in the G League to slowly reintroduce him into getting started would be a bad thing. I mean, everyone looked at me like I was crazy when when he first got injured, and we were talking about timelines and what should happen, and
Well, that's what they do in baseball, right, Chris?
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, where the stats don't matter, nothing counts. You're playing game level speed, but okay, you might not be playing,
Pressure's off.
all NBA players. The pressure's completely off. You don't have to worry about putting up, because let's face it, at the end of the day, regardless of the competition there, he's putting on a show for those people. Because he said it before, they paid good money to see me. And if that hesitancy, if he, like Gabe, like you're right, like as someone who suffered with knee injuries before, it's like, can I trust myself to really run and really like cut and like make that move? Or is my shit gonna blow again? Am I gonna like get another fucking huge effusion that a doctor needs to drain,
I
put
know.
a fucking needle into my leg and drain fluid out? So it's like it is a mental thing, and that's why I think going into the G League for him would be perfect, because like you said, that pressure is just completely off of his chest, and it's a small ass tiny venue that can only fit so many people, and he doesn't need to worry about putting on a show for people because he's only worried about one thing, and that's rehabilitating that Achilles to get him back to where he needs to go. People aren't paying top money to go and see him there.
Damn, you brought up something about just like, coming back from an injury. I partially tore a PCL. I've stretched out my ACL, and like, I'm not an athlete, and like trying to do normal things it can be challenging. Imagine being someone who's at the top of your profession, the top of your game, and
Yeah.
you're dealing with these feelings of like, am I inadequate? Am I going to get there? Jason Tatum came out recently this past week and said that he thought about potentially that his career might have been over after the injury happened. And that's the mental aspect of recovering from it. I don't think anyone in his circle ever thought he was ever going to retire because of this. But like when you're the person that's going through it, especially when you've never had a major injury before, it's going to take some time. So I do hope that we see Jason Tatum this year, but if he decides to hold out, like that's his prerogative, and I'm going to support him 125% with whatever he decides to do. But if you're interested in any Tatum news or any trade deadline news, pay attention to our socials this week. We'll also recap everything that happens after the Super Bowl, because that's the priority this week, with the trade deadline in our episode next week. But I do think it's time for us to get the Bull gang together and take the parquet off and switch on over to the ice. And let's hear a little bit about what's going on with the Bruins this past week.
Man, well, it's infamously going to be known as the Stadium Series choke job. The Bruins, they let's start with the positives. We'll start positive and we'll end a little salty, but that's how the game went, right? I think I thought it was a cool setting at Raymond James Stadium. I don't know how often we need to have these stadium games in Florida. It just seemed like the ice was kind of shitty from the start. There were holes in the ice, and that's
Jesus.
yeah.
Christ.
There's like that. I mean, that's dangerous for NHL players to play on a surface like that, especially.
It sounds like
Yeah, I know exactly. Maybe they're just prepping them for the Olympics, and this is how it's going to be. But I thought it was a cool setting. I thought they went pretty hard on the pirate theme, which was kind of funny. Someone was messaging me on TikTok today, and they were saying that it's actually like something known that they do in Tampa Bay. It's called Gasparilla, and it's like a pirate festival they do every year.
Really?
So it did have some like historic touch to like the area.
I did go to a pirate festival in North Carolina on Orchid Coast Island. I'm not lying. It was Redbeard's Island. I'm being dead serious. I saw a reenactment of two pirate ships going at it. It was kind of wild.
I mean, pirates can get down. I like
Fire the cannons.
Fire the cannons, and that's what the Bruins did. They were firing on all cylinders. They were up 5-1, I believe it was in
Literally.
the first period or into the early second period, and that's where things kind of started going wrong. The penalties caught up with the Bruins. They're the most penalized team in the league, and they literally had 7 straight penalties called on them at one point during the game, and that's just a recipe for disaster. You're going 5-on-3 for like 5 minutes, and I mean, Tampa Bay is one of the best teams in the league. They're going to score on those opportunities. So when everything went wrong, the Tampa Bay Lightning won 6-5 in a shootout. It's kind of one of those games where you need to look at yourself in the mirror and see what you're made of, because that's a really tough loss. It is the worst loss in Stadium Series history, so very disappointing. I do have some other things to say, but I'll pass it along to you guys and see how you all kind of thought about the game.
Yeah, I was able to catch the game on the flight back last night from a trip on the plane, and I think obviously the thing that stuck out was the goalie fight between Vasilevsky and Swayman, who got his noggin rocked pretty good there by Vasilevsky. If you're gonna fight, you might want to know what hand is the dominant hand for the guy that you're going up against. But that was like the changing tide moment of the game. I think Tampa Bay really got giddy after that and mounted their comeback. The ice was terrible last night. It's a shame that game actually counts for points, especially given where the Bruins and the Lightning's are from a standing standpoint, because Tampa's at the top of the division with the Bruins sort of knocking on the door. So from that standpoint, it's pathetic. And the officiating last night was god awful. I don't know. I've rewatched when Pasternak scored what should have been the game winner in overtime over and over and over again, and I don't understand where there was ever a slash, and the arm never went up from the referee if they were going to call it on the other side. Like that entire sequence of play should have been blown dead if there was some sort of penalty. So that made absolutely no sense to me at all. Charlie McAvoy was absolutely livid after the game. Sturm sort of had a few comments as well. So the officiating last night, you never want to blame a loss on the officials, and the Bruins should not have lost that game. Being up 5-1 and choking that away is a disaster in and of itself. But that was definitely something that stuck out to me in that game. But to make it a little bit better, Gabe, in terms of the Bruins, I think that they're firmly in that wild card position, looking to get into the top 3 in the mix of the division, and do look like they're on their way to a playoff appearance. And obviously, you got the break coming up here in a little bit, but the Bruins have done themselves well to get back into the mix and to be a team that's contending for a playoff spot. And I think that's something that we should be excited about once we sort of turn the page officially to winter sports.
Yeah, I want to take a little bit more of a positive approach. I'm not going to be Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows here,
We
but
know that.
I do. Yes, we do. But I do want to like look at the week on a whole, and they did secure a point in every game that they played in the last week, and they walked away with 6 points. So I will say, like, they are rolling in the right direction. While like the Stadium Series was disappointing, overall, I do feel like you still have to be somewhat satisfied with where the Bruins are right now. I do think they're a team that's in flux, which we've talked about before. Is this a team that's going to add? Is this a team that's going to subtract? Is this a team that's going to stand pat? And I think it could be a mix of all three, honestly. They're going to trade around the margins, I think. I think they're going to trade guys who they don't envision for the long term, guys that are going to be essentially rentals, but guys who, if you move off of them, they're not really going to kill you, right? And I think that's like an Arvidsson, for example. I think he's got 1 year left on his deal. He's someone who could be a nice pickup for someone. And yeah, could they get a draft pick out of it? Yeah, I think they could. I think that's kind of the mode here is don't sell any draft picks, especially that Toronto one, because that Toronto draft pick could be a great player, could be a top pick, could potentially be a lottery pick, and see what you can do to continue to add around the margins. So whether that's prospects, whether that's picks, do what you can to help for the long-term vitality of this team and see what you can do with what you have right now. You still have some really good NHL players on this team. You still have Pasternak, you still have Charlie McAvoy, you still have Swayman. So with all that said, all it takes is get a little hot and go on a run. We've seen it with teams in crazier situations than where the Bruins are right now that have gone on to win the cup. I don't think they're going to go on to win the cup, but I just think like let's not rule it out until they actually get there.
Yeah, Eric, you made a few good points there. One, I also feel like Sweeney could trim along the edges there, especially prospect-wise. They recently called up Matthew Poitras, who had a goal last night. I feel like they might be showcasing him a little bit to see if maybe they can sweeten a better deal for him. Also, players like Fabian Lysell, who haven't really gotten their chance in the NHL, and some other prospects down in the AHL. I think that might be where he looks to trim the roster and potentially add a slightly better piece onto the NHL roster. And like you said, they also have Toronto's pick, which is looking like a top 10 pick at the moment. Like, that is a huge development. If the Bruins draft anywhere in the lottery this season, plus with all the draft pick capital they got from last season, they're cooking with fire, and that's definitely positive news. One thing before we can move on from this game and the Bruins, I know officiating was terrible last night. We can all agree on that. I just think the way that McAvoy and Pasta handled it afterwards is completely the reason why we don't have a captain on this team this year. I know they wear the A on their chest, but they were really, really bitching about the officiating. And it's almost like it was an excuse for like the reason that they let up like a 4-goal lead. I think you kind of take it more like a man and you say, you know what, we've been the most penalized team in the league this year. We need to change things around and make sure that we fix that before the playoffs come. But instead, they're just bitching and bitching and bitching to the media. And I understand they're frustrated, and it's right after the game, and it's kind of just how they react. But, it just made me think, like, this is why we don't have a captain this year, is because you don't have a Bergeron up there who's saying, you know what, we need to look at ourselves, and we need to look at the penalties that we're creating, and we need to fix that. And we can blame the refs all we want, but it's really on us to fix that issue.
Chara would have never.
No.
Sorry.
It's a completely valid point, Gabe. And I think that when you think about the Bruins and the letdowns that they've had, in the times that matter most, that's the fear that creeps into this team is does the things that are out of sort of their control, allow to be infiltrating into the team and affect potential results. But we'll see. They got one more game here before the break for the Olympics that will come up on Wednesday against Florida, and then there'll be almost 3-week lapse in the NHL, but we will be talking Olympic hockey for sure.
Lots of Olympic hockey.
It's
Team USA, baby.
I love Olympic hockey, but I don't know why. Just the NHL. It's weird. Maybe
it's for your country. It's for your pride.
I think the same is true for like the World Cup, Sam. Like I feel like I don't follow soccer as much when it's not the World Cup, but when it's the World Cup, I get up for it because like there is that factor of it being your country and like
national
the
pride,
nationality.
Yeah. Oh boy,
and
do
respect.
I gotta for when we get there.
We'll get
well,
there.
let's keep it moving. I think Sammy, I got one question for you. What was today?
It was Truck Day, boys. Do you know what that means more so than just me being able to watch the Red Sox?
Spring is near.
Sorry, babe. I know we're going to have to buy another TV so you can watch what you want, but the Red Sox are going to be on for 162 games, and I'm super fucking excited. But more so, it means that spring is right around the corner, and these days are going to get longer and longer and longer. And as I was studying today for my nursing exams, I had the sunlight in my eye, and before at 4:00, it was in my eye, and now it's 5:30 and it's in my eye, and it's fucking beautiful. That is the one great thing about spring training, about Truck Day, is we are that much closer to nicer weather. Don't really need to go into much. I feel like we should install a segment into the show called Eric's 5 minutes of ownership bashing, and then we can talk about the Red Sox.
Well,
I don't
we'll
think
get
it's just
to
me.
that.
I think we all hate ownership, except for maybe you.
But I want to get away from ownership bashing. I want to talk about who's on the roster, what we're going to do this season, and how we're going to make an impact, and how we're going to be a good team, because this team is going to surprise a lot of people. It's not going to be flashy. There's not going to be a lot of long balls. There will be some. Roman Anthony's a monster, but it's going to be a lot of small ball and pitching, and it's going to be a lot of close games.
I hope you're right, because I got a rain cloud over a storm cloud over Fenway this year.
Hey, Eeyore, it's okay. It's all right. Piglet and Winnie the Pooh are coming down.
The best part of this entire situation is that we're going to have 6 whole months of of Sam and Big E being able to go back and forth on the Red Sox.
Well,
But we certainly.
Charge!
Charge Sarge.
Hey, just spend the money. That's all I care about.
And then we'll go into the actual Red Sox segment that we talk about what's actually going on.
Hey, listen, if they actually want to do the things that they say that they're going to do, I'll stop bashing them. But they are their own worst enemy, dude. Like,
they did. They re-signed Roman Anthony to a $160 million deal, and they took
That was
$130
dude, that was
million, and
last
they
year.
paid Randy Suarez.
Dude, that was last year. That was last season.
What we should really do is just set up like a special episode of the Krasner Big E Palooza, and you both come like and call it the Great Debate, and you just and
I just want
myself,
to
Gabe,
dare I say master debaters.
One of the best rotations in the majors, and I can be like
the segment master debaters.
Master debaters. The best part is that you have myself, Gabe, and J Matt as 3 judges, so you're going to be able to get a vote on each talking point, and we'll just award points throughout the entire course of the season. You know, you'll each get, we'll think on this a little bit more. I think we have something cooking here in terms of this, but we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of all this, given it's Super Bowl week in baseball. As Sam said, the best
nice
part
weather's on the way. That's all we care about. One last thing. Jaron Duran has been he's already there. He's been taking reps on the infield. So
on the infield.
Gotta get that trade value up.
Sounds good to me. You never know what's going to happen with the Red Sox.
The more bats, the better. The more positions you can play, the better. That's what this game is.
I have no problem if they keep him. I have no problem if they trade him. I just, let's see what they do.
I have no problem if we move on to the next segment of this podcast. Biggie, you know what time it is.
Yeah, it's my favorite time of the segment. It's the time that we talk about the things that, make us, we don't like. They make us go, yeah, oh, smelly, get out of here. And then there are the things that we love.
It's the smelliest thing I've ever smelled before in my life.
Okay. And then there are the things that we love, the things that we get up, the things that make me get out of my bed in the morning and go, life is fantastic, life is wonderful, and makes me go, oh yeah, oh yeah. Who's got a yeah, oh, or oh yeah this week?
So I'll start off with the yeah, oh,
I like
just
that.
while it's on my mind. The ticket prices for the FIFA World Cup, from what I've been hearing from the FIFA president, are supposed to be astronomical, is the quotes he used, quote unquote, astronomical prices. And he's looking to do something to, at least I think maybe it was him, someone's looking to do something to kind of fix that and mitigate that so the average Joe can go and see a game, whereas you don't need to be, bringing in, $1.5 million a year to be able to actually go and attend one of these events. With that being said, I would love nothing but to see what's that Danish guy's name? Earl, got the long hair, blonde hair.
Holland?
Yes, thank you. Holland and Mbappe go at it. Like, that would just be like, for me as like a soccer fan, like that would be just like a dream come true. But that's like, those tickets are going to be like, even the nosebleeds are going to be like $800 a pop, and it's just going to be.
I think you're looking at more than $800 there, buddy, for the nosebleeds. I think you're looking at the thousands of dollars.
I hope you haven't.
I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number. I don't know what the fuck it's going to be because they're not on Ticketmaster. So, but it's just ridiculous. No one should have to spend that much money to see a game, no matter who the player is.
I mean, that's the unfortunate side of it. But when this sort of global event happens and all the money that goes into it, it's not a surprise.
But it's the scalpers.
Well,
and
no,
especially
especially in the United States, where like you're still trying to grow this sport. You would think you would want to make it accessible to as many kids as possible and grow the game that way. But I mean, it's all about the money. Yeah,
it's all about the money, and
kids don't eat free in FIFA.
No, kids don't eat free. The 99 is not involved. But in knowing a little bit behind the scenes with Coca-Cola and their sponsorship and what's going on with the World Cup, the amount of money that's going into this thing is unbelievable. They're pretty much there you go, Biggie. Coca-Cola is taking over Gillette Stadium for the 7 games that they're having there. And based on what I've heard is that it's pretty much as if they're preparing for 7 Super Bowl-like events to be happening at Gillette over the course of that time. And that's why you're seeing tickets where they're at, Sam. It's unfortunate and whatnot, but this is a corporate event that's going to be driving billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Sounds like you might be going, Plotty.
if I get an opportunity to be able to be at one of these games, it'd be a miracle. I have zero expectations for it. But I mean, on the flip side, in terms of what you guys said from a cost standpoint, I can't imagine that there's any other sort of experience other than perhaps being at a championship sort of game that would be like the World Cup. I've been to international soccer games at Gillette, and when you have some of those countries, especially given this region with the Latin American
I've been to
populations that we have,
Brazil, Argentina games
it's
before.
unbelievable. It's
wild.
on another level. If you think that you've been to any sort of sporting event in this
Or
country,
tailgate. The
yeah,
tailgating on Route 1 was I've been to Patriot tailgates. I wasn't Argentina, it was Brazil and Ecuador or Honduras back in like 2008 or 2009. It was fucking
on
wild.
another level.
They were pig on spigots. They were like full blown. It was insane. It was absolutely wild, and I expect the World Cup to be exactly the same. But I get it. It's a corporate event, and the people that are going to spend the most money are the people that are going to be there. But they should make it affordable. I don't really care.
Well, you can do what Big E did. Maybe check that last minute ticket price, see if you can get in the door in some way somehow. But completely agree. It's going to be a tremendous event.
I can find
whatever you do, avoid Route 1 at all costs when it comes down to those dates and the games that are taking place.
We got some months to deal with that. So we'll get to the World Cup when we.
All right, we got another We got another and that's Caitlin Clark reacted in a way that Reggie Miller compared her to Peyton Pritchard, where she was utterly disgusted with the comparison. But to me,
she's like I'm Michael Jordan, bitch.
Yeah, I mean, you're not Peyton Pritchard from the standpoint of like
you ain't want shit.
You're not Peyton Pritchard from the standpoint of what you mean to the sport in your respective league, but from a like play standpoint, they're pretty similar and like
great shooters.
And
well,
for her in that, I mean, I get it. She's a competitor. She doesn't want that sort of comparison, but
he's not from the Midwest. He's from Oregon, dude.
Another joke.
All right. Well, that went over all our heads.
That went over my head. Yeah.
Last oh yeah is to Aunt Suzanne and Uncle Ron for saving the day. Thank you for picking up me and Mrs. P in the middle of Talladega, Alabama yesterday after a flat tire. What a shit show that was. But here we are, boys, somehow, some way, sitting at the office and recording with your beautiful faces tonight. Anyone got any final things they want to wrap up oh yeahs or yeah-ohs or touch on anything we talked about?
Can you just give us a brief synopsis on what Birmingham, Alabama is like?
Yeah, Birmingham, Alabama is a great little city in the South. Very like casual. There's not like a hustle and bustle to it in the same sort of way that any of the Northeast cities are, but Southern hospitality is on full display, and undoubtedly the Southern comfort in terms of food and drink is on another level. There's some great food that we had while we were there. I don't know how to compare it. It's smaller than a city like Providence or Hartford even. It would not have as much going on. So, it's hard to say what it's like from a Northeast standpoint.
It's like Lowell.
I haven't been, maybe like Worcester. Actually, like maybe like Worcester. That might be a good comparison.
Comp. That's a good.
There we go. So good stuff there. All right, let's take the Pike. Let's park the car, bring it home here. Obviously, we got the Super Bowl on Sunday. Nothing else from an NFL standpoint that is taking the reins now. The Bruins, Gabe, have one game before the break. First, the Florida Panthers. Anything that you're looking forward to in that one?
Just would love to see how they respond to giving it up to Tampa Bay in that game. I hope we can go into the break with a win.
Awesome. Big E, big week for the Celtics. 4 games on the slate. We got a Texas twosome with Mavericks and Rockets, and they're heading out on the road there for a back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they come back home for games against the Heat Friday night, and then the perfect Super Bowl Sunday appetizer with the game against the Knicks at 12:30 to kick off what will be an unbelievable day of sports. So what are you looking forward to most for the Celtics this week?
Oh, it's going to be that game against the Knicks because I think, they're a rival right now. We're neck and neck for first in the Atlantic and basically second and third in the conference. So it's going to be a good game. Also keep your eyes peeled, folks. It is going to be Super Bowl Sunday. So if you are looking for last minute tickets to that game right now, I did check earlier today. There were not cheap tickets for that. It was about $145 for the balcony. But as the weather continues to stay cold and people want to stay inside and get prepped for the Super Bowl, don't be shocked if those tickets drop a little bit. So I might be looking to go if anyone else is potentially looking.
Maybe you may see Big E over at the Garden and then getting back to the Big Eastie for the game. So Sammy K, anything that you're looking forward to this week? Anything. It can be anything.
Nah, I got midterms this week, so I'm gonna be up on
Hitting
late.
the books.
Ready for the week to be
just
over.
starting for me.
Love it.
Do we think that maybe the Knicks game might have Giannis on the Knicks on Sunday?
No
two
chance.
teams. I don't know. I don't know. That cat trade
If
could happen.
Giannis
We'll
went
see.
to the Knicks would have to give up way too much, first off. Secondly, they're way too far into the season to even make any sort of gelling happen. So Giannis
I don't know.
Giannis is a headache and a cancer that I don't want in my.
But if you listen to
Anyway.
Clem, they're having some issues, so I wouldn't be shocked. But we'll get to that next week once we figure out what the trade deadline
Giannis to the
does.
Heat.
All right.
I don't think so. I think Giannis to the Timberwolves.
Giannis is going to the Nets.
Ooh, Timberwolves would be cool.
All right.
Giannis to the Timberwolves.
Lots of
You heard it
predictions
here.
here. Lots of predictions here. I'm not going to make any predictions because I don't know what's going to happen. So that's going to do it here for the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. Hopefully, we'll be returning next week with a fully loaded show. That's a guarantee.
Let's go.
Hopefully,
Super Bowl,
a very,
boys.
very, very happy fully loaded show and a Super Bowl victory. And we are able to break out
Manifest it.
the Red
We're gonna have a
Auerbach
Super Bowl
cigars.
victory Monday episode.
Love
From
it.
your lips
Nothing would be better.
to all of our ears.
No, you need to say it and believe it.
I do believe it.
We believe. We all we got.
We all we need.
baby.
Near, far, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Boston
They hate
Sports
us 'cause
Brothers
they ain't us.
podcast. Warriors.
Oh, man.
All right. See ya.
Warriors.
Later.
Peace.